the UK prisons that are breeding grounds for jihadi recruitment. Um, I didn't know until recently when I was researching for the story about the UK police officers that are being arrested because these police officers in the UK are being caught supporting Hamas. And when I was researching that news, I discovered that there is a whole report that has come out about how there is a jihadi recruitment problem in UK prisons. And then so that led me to want to research about that. And that's what brought me to this. Okay, so let's dive into what the hell is going on here. So, for the record, this is a report from 2022, but everyone in the live chat asked me to cover it. So that's why we're doing this. Okay. So, a damning report by the UK's terrorism watchdog has exposed British prisons as a dangerous breeding ground for jihadist recruitment and extremist control. The independent review, led by Jonathan Hall QC, people in the UK, can you tell me what QC stands for in this context? Revealed that Islamist inmates wield alarming influence and are known to appoint their own emirs to control prison wings and even establish Sharia courts to mete out punishments like flogging within the prisons. Quote, Islamist group behavior has come to be seen as part of the prison landscape, Hall warned, adding these extremists often gain a heroic profile among prisoners for their perceived anti state actions. Guards, intimidated by insincere accusations of Islamophobia and overwhelmed by violent group behavior, often turn to these emirs to help maintain order. The report also criticized the lack of a national system to track Islamist activity in prisons, leaving authorities blind to the scale of the threat. Hall urged legislative changes to combat these issues, noting how dangerous figures like terrorist Sudesh Amman and Usman Khan carried out attacks after they were released from prison, highlighting the grave risks of inaction. Okay, so there is a lot to go through here. I read this full report. I mean, there was like a few sections I didn't read because it was all complete inside baseball about what branch is in control of this versus that and all this stuff. But okay, this was an extremely informative report. Oh, the QC stands for Queen's Council. Thank you, D. Um, and
Do
I was
understand.
like, what the hell is going on here? So basically, here's kind of it's a very what's the word I'm looking? Like a toxic feedback loop, basically. Because there will be these men that are sent to prison because of maybe terrorist threat or terrorist attacks or behavior or being in possession of materials that are illegal and all this stuff, right? And then in prison, they will actually become more radicalized instead of less radicalized. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One of the reasons is that, like, they actually have status within the prison for doing these things. You know, it's very hard to rehabilitate someone when the actions that led them to be in that position actually helps garner them status, reputation within the prison system, maybe respect, maybe fear. And I don't know how much people know about how little societies function within prisons, but being respected and feared is pretty important for the sake of your own protection. um, having uh you know, people that are in your corner who are willing to protect you, you know what I mean? Um, Now what I found very alarming is the methods of control that go on in these prisons because of the activities that these prisoners are doing to each other. So, Let me go through some of the notes that I took here. So there are four main categories of control. And this is very important because people need to understand that coercive control is one of the most important elements in brainwashing and indoctrination, especially when you have physical control over a individual's physical environment. If you have control over individual's physical environment, the control that you have a much greater ability to control their psyche. Um, this is why we see stuff like a re-education camp, right? Or the brainwashing that happens within, like a POW camp or something, right? So let's go through some of the sources of control that are exactly saying captive audience. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Except in this instance, the captors are not actually the people in control of the prison. The captors, so to speak, are not the jailers, the warden. It is the other inmates. Um, so let's go through some of these methods of control within this context of Islamic radicalization within UK prisons. So there's control through leadership and recruitment. So charismatic or violent prisoners exert a radicalizing influence on the rest of the Muslim populations within the prison. These methods of control include using enforcers, so people to exact physical violence upon people, recruiting vulnerable prisoners by offering nice things, like guidance, food, gifts. Um, then there's also conversions, forced conversions. There are forced conversions happening within these prisons that are backed up by implicit violence or actual violence. There are instances that are documented in this report of men being beaten up basically until they convert. Um, and then there is, like basically soliciting help from them to do tasks or errands, or maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Like boons within negotiating between prison gangs, that kind of thing. There's also control of physical territory. So this involves these radicalized prisoners excluding the staff from the areas where they are allowed to do Friday prayers, because prisoners do have rights of religious freedom. And so, they probably have a little chaplain area. They have like a little prayer area. And what they will do is they will exclude the prison staff from the prayer area because they say that the staffs are non-Muslim. They're not allowed to be in there. So they impose conditions of entry. They segregate Muslims prisoners from non-Muslim prisoners by different sections. And they even go so far as to exclude other prisoners from certain areas like kitchens or showers unless they comply with Sharia laws of cleanliness. Uh, yeah. Okay. It goes further. It goes further. There's also controlling standards of behavior. So this is actually creating their own Sharia courts within the prison. And these Sharia courts exact Sharia punishments upon Muslim prisoners amongst themselves. This includes physical punishment and flogging, by the way. This also includes undermining the prison imam at Friday prayers. So, what does this mean? This means like it's very common in prisons that you have, a Christian chaplain, or I don't know, basically representatives who are from the outside world, the civilian world. They're civilians. They themselves are not in prison for an offense, right? These are religious figures that come to work and offer religious guidance to the prisoners, right? So there's probably like a priest or a pastor. And so there's also imams. There are imams that work for the prisons or are maybe not work. I don't know if they're paid. I don't know how it works in the UK, but they're allowed special authority and access to go deliver sermons within the prisons, right? And so basically what they will do, the jihadi prisoners, they will undermine the authority of the official authorized imam. And they do this in a variety of ways. They do this through intimidation, they do this through disruption, or they do this through like deliberate disrespect, where the imam, the appointed authorized imam, will be trying to deliver sermons, probably well based on this report, basically giving sermons that are um like criticizing their Islamist interpretations, or giving a counter narrative to jihadi recruitment, blah blah blah. And the jihadi prisoners will openly be disrespecting this imam by like turning away from him, for example, when he's in the middle of his sermon. So, like, openly turning their back to him to, like, signal to everyone else that this is unacceptable, they don't agree with this, or actually openly interrupting him, or amongst themselves, basically establishing their own little imam that they actually follow. They do other things, and this was a big problem in the report, where the prisoners know that they can weaponize insincere allegations of racism and Islamophobia. And they do this through a variety of means, and for a variety of reasons. So one of the reasons why they might do this is to back up what I was talking about before, backing up control of physical territory. So if the prison guards are trying to enter when they're doing their prayers, like excluding them from spaces, excluding them from, I don't know, like the kitchen or other things, they'll accuse them of Islamophobia because they didn't follow the Sharia dictates that they're imposing upon everyone, right? So like that's their excuse. Like, oh, the person who's in charge of being a prison guard like should be where a bunch of prisoners are together doing their Friday prayers, right? Why wouldn't they be? And they're saying, no, you can't be in this area because you're not a Muslim and you didn't, do wuzu. And so if you come in here, this is bigotry, this is Islamophobia, this is a violation of my religious freedom, XYZ. This is racist, blah, blah, blah. So they know that they can weaponize accusations of Islamophobia and that it works. Um, they also do things like, they weaponize accusations of Islamophobia or mistreatment against staff to delegitimize their authority. Um, and they work as a collective to intimidate staff when the staff challenges their behavior. They go so far as to demand that the people that are Muslim in their unit, who are either originally Muslim or forcibly converted, whatever, um, they demand that they wear certain clothing or refuse to participate in certain work or activities, right? So now they're imposing their own like little morality police upon each other. They refuse to be searched by female staff, and they are known to assault other prisoners for faith-based reasons. They're known to assault non-Muslim prisoners. Um, and finally, the last piece is they control ideology. And so this goes into all of those instances I was talking about previously regarding the emir that leads their wing, or how they undermine the Friday chap the imam, all that stuff. So basically, by controlling the ideology, they do this by celebrating terrorist attacks, um doing things to disrupt and mock Remembrance Day in the UK. So when there are like holidays to um that are important to the British identity, essentially. They purposefully disrupt these symbols of the British nation. Um they, are constantly shouting takbir, derogatory words for non-Muslim prisoners, calling them kufar, dirty kufar. We're gonna cut the heads off the kufar. I mean, these are all things that like verbatim are listed in this report, right? Um, uh, and oh, of course, just straight up circulating Islamist terrorist propaganda and takfiring other Muslims that aren't falling in line. So if there are other Muslims that are not falling in line with what they're demanding, they will call those Muslims not that un-Islamic. They will takfir them, and that's an incredibly dangerous position for a person to be put in when they are literally held captive physically with a bunch of freaking jihadis. If you're declared to be a deviant Muslim in this environment. I mean, Armin, can you briefly explain how dangerous that is?
I mean, does that need explanation? Just labeling somebody like that is like, I don't know why. I think we all know on this channel what that label means. I mean, it puts a target on your back. I have a question for you. How the
Mhm.
fuck are they allowing this to happen? Like, this is a closed area. Why can't they
Mhm.
control it?
Yeah.
If I was in charge of the prison, I mean, they have enough information to know this is happening. Anytime this happens, I would just take the leader. I would like, I'm sorry, you're going to go. Well, sorry, not sorry. You're going to go into isolation. We're going to separate you from everyone indefinitely. Like, you're turning. I mean, the whole point of the prison system is to keep society safe. This is doing the opposite. This is
Yeah.
making these people more radicalized, more connected. They're going to come up with more resources, and they're going to be a danger to society more than before they went in. So,
100%.
like, UK taxpayers are paying so much for their prison system for, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. All that money is being wasted. It's making society, your prisons are making society worse. Why? I have a simple question. Why wouldn't you just, as soon as you notice there is any form of group being, gang being created, why not be like, okay, we are going to separate, like, you are going to be isolated forever. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, from everyone else. Why not just do that? Like, why not just make them, give them their own small little room as punishment? And not only this will not be a threat anymore, nobody would ever dare even think about something like that, because isolation will fuck you up, by the way, like mentally. So why not just do that? Like, is it because of human rights violations and shit like that that they don't do
Um
that?
like partly. So there are a couple of instances or reasons for why this is allowed to occur. So one of them is that um there is a loss of control due to staff shortages. And that's a very like baseline issue. Like we just literally are lacking enough people to exert proper control over the situation. And I should actually highlight one thing, this is important, that this report was exclusive to prisons within Britain. So this was not Wales, this was not Northern Ireland, not Scotland, and this was not juvenile detention
In
facilities.
England.
This was not female prisons. This was exclusively
Hmm.
British male prisons.
You mean,
So
you mean
just
England? Yeah. Okay.
oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah.
Um, so that that's an important like note about where this is occurring. It's very specific, right? We're not seeing this in female prisons in this way. Um, so it's a lack of like staff. Another issue is that basically there has been historically an underappreciation of the threat. And that's one thing that this report talks about is that counterterrorism police, MI5 itself saw the sentencing and the imprisonment of that prisoner, of that offender, as like the end of the story. And So they kind of weren't paying attention. And then another thing that was very interesting in this report that I was reading about is that the report talks about how a lot of these radicalized prisoners are actually committing what could easily be categorized as terrorist offenses while within the prison themselves. So that involves declarations of allegiance to terrorist groups, that involves maintaining their materials. There was even a prisoner that they highlighted in this report that they found planning and stowing away the materials to make an IED while in prison.
What the hell?
Um,
Okay.
And so basically, the report was talking about how we need to consider those activities that happen within the prison walls as themselves new terrorist offenses because there was like a legal misconception that this wasn't happening within the public. So that can't be prosecuted. And the report is like, no, it can.
Wait, how is this even a discussion? You get a pass because you did it while in jail? What the fuck?
Well,
Like, should we consider this a new crime? The guy was making a bomb to make a terrorist attack. Well, technically, it cannot be a crime because he did it while he was in jail. Let's have an intellectual discussion whether this is a new crime or not. What
no, no,
the
I mean,
actual fuck?
it actually does come down to a technicality of how the offense is written within the law. Like in the report, it talks about certain offenses where the definition or criteria for the offense is that it happens within the public. And they're like, oh, well, if you're in prison, does that count as the public or whatever? And the person who wrote the report, the independent review, is like, yes, it does. We should prosecute this. Um,
Well,
Another reason why things are this is even allowed to occur is because like I said, these terrorist offenders are actually seen as someone with authority and influence. They are alluring. They have a heroic profile within the prison subculture. They are seen as their terrorist offenses as like this glorious defiance, right? They have clout. They have clout. um and so this is attractive to people that are looking for a more authoritative or really more authoritarian interpretation of their faith. That's very sexy. Intellectually speaking, of course.
I actually have a solution for all of this. I
Mm,
just came up with the best solution. You know how the prisons are overcrowded and they don't have enough room and they don't have enough staff to manage all of this? How about how about we add more prisoners to all of this by
mm,
arresting people who have made naughty Facebook posts talking about immigration, talking about, I don't know, the rise of Islamism. How about we just go and use the limited resources that we have to go arrest those people for
yeah,
liking tweets, for making Facebook posts, and just add to the prison population? How about that? How about we do that?
yeah,
And if we don't have enough room, just release some of these terrorists to make room for those people. I think that would be the perfect response to all of this
yeah.
shit.
What
How
could
about
go wrong? What could go wrong? Um,
that?
and so another reason why this problem or that the report identifies as why this problem has evolved into the form that it has is that basically there's like a misguided focus on the motivation. So a lot of prison officials will basically chalk up this behavior to standard prison gang culture. And because I don't like look, I've never been to prison. I've never been to jail. But I don't know, I guess because 'cause I'm just very intrigued by things that are on the darker side of this world. Like, educated myself quite a bit about the subculture of gangs and also prisons within gangs, watching a lot of interviews, stories about people who have survived prison culture, prison gangs, all this stuff. Like, there is some elements of this that is similar to other prison gang culture. But the problem is the implication and the promotion of enmity towards the entire British nation, the entire British public, the fealty to foreign terrorist organizations. There's obviously a very clear difference. Um, and so there can be a downplaying of the scale of this ideological threat because they're just like, oh, well, this is how prison gangs act. Um, and finally, the report identifies that one of the reasons why this got so bad is that there's been a complete lack of strategic oversight. So basically, there's no national system for tracking Islamist group activity within prisons. And so there's a lack of data on how bad this problem is, and then also where it's happening with the most severity so that more resources can be allocated appropriately. And that's one of the recommendations that this report makes about how to help fix this problem is to be much better about tracking these instances and taking terrorist risk behavior more seriously. So it talks about terrorist risk behavior, which is essentially things that are not crimes, things that cannot be prosecuted, but behaviors that should serve as red flags for who is maybe being radicalized or who is being the radicalizer, so to speak. So, and some of these things aren't necessarily exclusive to the way that these Islamic jihadi prison gangs work. Um, so a terrorist risk behavior could be if there's someone from this extremist Muslim group in the prison who is asking favors of another prisoner or basically giving another prisoner a bunch of gifts or a bunch of favors. Because basically they're gonna call back that favor one day. You know what I mean? They're gonna come asking for you to pay back that favor one day. That kind of thing. Um, and so wait, let me get into some recommendations. Let me find this in my notes. Um, where is it? Oh, Armin, also by the way, I put there was one video that I forgot to ask you to
I
download. I
already
put it. Oh, okay, beautiful.
already downloaded and uploaded and is ready for
Okay,
playing.
beautiful. Okay, how about we watch that actually real quick? Um,
Uh,
and for the record, okay, I just want to say, yes, this source is RT. I do not trust RT, but the reason why I decided to still show this is because after reviewing this is reflective of things that were talked about in this independent review,
yes,
right? So just wanted to put that out there.
yes. Let's play it.
UK high security jails are forcing prisoners to convert to Islam with threats and beatings. That's according to a new Ministry of Justice report.
Other prisoners are scared of us. They know they're only going to 3 other jails, and they know there will be brothers waiting there to stab them.
There is an underlying pressure for people to convert and join the gang, the tactic they use to befriend someone when they come in. If they don't convert, they will then start spreading rumours about them, that the person is a snitch, so that they will be ostracised. Then the beatings will follow.
Once I go to a Category B prison, I'll say goodbye to Islam. If I said I didn't want to be a Muslim, I'd need to watch out in case someone stabbed me. It's very dangerous to denounce Islam. It'll be nice to be true to myself.
Well, the study was conducted at 3 top security prisons and found that Muslim gangs use violence and threats to push prisoners into conversion. The report says that forced conversions are becoming increasingly widespread in high security jails, and that is due to a number of factors such as social isolation, deprivation of liberty, and also the need for protection. Well, there are almost 13,000 Muslim prisoners in British jails at the moment, about 15% of the total jail population. And then in March of 2017, we knew that there were 186 terrorists being held in British jails. 90% of them were Muslim. 3 so-called jails within a jail were also set up to house problem Islamist inmates. Our guests debated the issues raised.
Certainly in prisons, gang culture has always existed. What happens here is it's just a loose label of a Muslim. We are now attaching ourselves, some are not being converted, forcibly converted. They're actually drifting towards the bigger group of people who they feel are more aggressive, and if they coexist with them, maybe. Well, I've worked in prisons, David. Have you ever done a prison intervention? Have you worked with, like...
Well, you may have worked in prisons, but I'm allowed to have an opinion.
Hardline terrorists.
Well done. But that doesn't divert from the simple truth in this report. And the truth in this report is that Muslim gangs are causing great trouble in...
Yeah, it just cut off. I love the apologism at the end there. So yeah, basically this report had like a huge myriad of recommendations, and some of them are a little bit like inside baseball, but a lot of it had to do with government accountability, making sure, so the people that are in charge of the prisons are called governing governors, which is the most redundant name ever. They're literally called governing governors, and basically they kind of get to set the culture. And
what else is a governor supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, governing governors.
As opposed to a non-governing governor. And basically they need to be made aware of this like threat and to address it appropriately. Data collection was another recommendation, enhanced intelligence sharing, reforming the prison centers themselves. And then one thing that I also found very interesting was that they were also recommending that His Majesty's prison police use covert activities within the prison. So basically covert spying operations within the prison itself.
Sounds like a very safe job.
Dude, I don't know. How do you even go about that? To identify this terrorist threat.
Given the risk, given how risky that job is, it has to be very high paying. And I'm sure UK right now is in a position that is able to afford all of those jobs for all the prisons in the UK. From given, I mean, it's not going to be one or two that's going to be enough. I mean, this is a major issue. They're going to have to hire a whole bunch of people. UK's prisons are going bankrupt, right? Like people, this is the common knowledge. People are aware of this. Yes. Anyways, yeah. I think people know this. Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of a breakdown about everything that came out in this previous report. I found this like very, very interesting, especially considering some of the instances, because it gives the example of two terrorists that actually got worse after prison. So one of them was Usman Khan, who was the prisoner of the Fishmongers Hall attack. And then there was also Sudesh Amman, who was the perpetrator of attack in, how do I pronounce this? Stratum? And they were doing outrageous stuff, like openly and expressing the desire to kill the queen, become a suicide bomber. This guy was literally trying to create an IED within prison, verbally abusing female prison officers, just going around smashing stuff, shouting Allahu Akbar, notes that were attributed to them, pledging allegiance to ISIS, leading bullying gangs, all this stuff, radicalizing other people, forcing other prisoners to adopt Muslim names, telling them, reciting poems to other prisoners about cutting off the head of the kuffar, like all this stuff. And then they were allowed to like leave. And then they went and created terrorist attacks on the British public. So, one thing I didn't look into, because this report came out in 2022, is how things have changed since then, since this report came out. I don't know what has been adopted and what, if anything, has changed, to be honest. But I hope that they did adopt many of the recommendations of this report. Obviously.
Well, some good news from the UK. We have a new party being created, led by Jeremy Corbyn. uniting with 4 other Islamists because the Labour Party is not leftist enough and not pro-Palestinian enough, apparently. So
Not
I'm sure
anti-Semitic
things are
enough.
going to
Cool.
not anti-Semitic enough. Yes. So
Never,
apparently,
never
the
anti-Semitic.
the unfortunate thing is that as unpopular the Labour Party is in the UK, it seems like most of the people who don't like the Labour want to go more left, want to go more Islamist, pro-Palestinian shit. Like
Yeah.
a new party that is to the left of Labour is actually very popular. Like, I know the Reform Party is actually getting more people from the Conservative Party, but not from Labour. The
Well,
people within
obviously.
Labour who are dissatisfied for Labour want another party that is even more leftist, with Jeremy Corbyn and 4 or 5 other Islamists. That their main the unity between them is Palestine, which is fucking insane. That we might have a party in the UK that its main agenda is another not even a country, another area. It's fucking insane. Like, this is fantastic. Things are going to get worse before they get better, if they do get better. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I've been studying all this stuff, I'm gonna be going to the UK next year. My boyfriend's like worried about me. I'm like, I'll be fine. What are you talking about? So shall we go through our super chats?
Yes, you
Super
do
chatty
that.
chats.
You do that while I get this. Can you bring us? Oh, you already did that.
Your audio just got worse. I think you need to pull your mic closer to your face or something.
Oh, is it better now?
There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Idris sent a super chat, €5. Oh my gosh. Wow, you send a super chat to us to celebrate your achievement. That's very kind of you. Idris is saying, I am glad to say that I am now officially a graduated engineer. I look forward to serving my atheist republic. Congratulations, Idris. That's huge. Wow, you must have worked really hard for that. Naked Assad gave 15 shekels, saying, "Thank you, Susanna, for hosting awesome streams. You always get excellent points." And oh, and your co-host Armin is pretty okay too. Thank
No,
you.
I know. That's supposed to be a joke, but technically, I am the co-host on the news shows. Yeah, so I am the co-host. This is Susie's show.
And you do more than an okay job. But thank you, Naked Assad, for the shekels. Proof that, I don't know, apparently after your stream on the Assadist tiers, it's clear that everyone is a Zionist puppet, and so is Naked Assad.
Yes.
By the way, I'm like making that Spider-Man pointy finger Zionist me.
Yeah.
Because we need that for reference, obviously.
Wait, before you go to the next super chat, can I just show this on the screen that you guys know that I'm not full of shit, that I know what I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about. Okay. Jeremy Corbyn and these 4 independent MPs in the UK, they're too anti-Semitic to be in any fucking party. Look at based on their looks. You can tell.
Well, Iqbal Muhammad, this guy right here, Iqbal Muhammad, he's the guy pushing to not ban cousin marriage in the UK. He has the balls to stand up in public and be like, "No, let us fuck our cousins."
To inbreeding. Yeah, so this is going to be, they're trying to unite each other, and they're basically they might actually make a new party. Look at them. I mean, just look at them, okay? Jeremy Corbyn leading them, basically a party of anti-Semites. And yeah, if they become more influential in UK politics, this would be the Islamization. You know how people kept warning about us that the Islamization of UK politics? This is what's happening right now. This is going to be its own party. Fucking hell. All right.
Hey. Engaged American, thank you for the super chat. Saying sounds like the prisons need Singaporean quotas. For those who are not aware, like in Singapore, I'm probably going to get the details of this wrong, but they have basically like racial, religious, ethnic quotas per specific neighborhoods. So, like as a matter of state, they prevent where you or dictate where you are allowed to live based on your group characteristics. So this is a means to prevent self-segregation, ghettoization, and basically demand assimilation, which is very interesting. Sounds like maybe they do. Sounds like maybe they do. Kenny gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships. Thank you, Kenny. That's so generous. If guys, if you just got a membership from Kenny, make sure to use your emojis in the live chat. Thank you, Kenny. Sarah's asking, Susanna has prison experience? No. I just find studying gang culture very interesting.
I have being arrested experience. Didn't make it all the way to prison, but I was arrested for half a day for being in a car with a girl. Shit, for the crime of being in a car with a girl that I was not related to. So in Iran. So I was arrested once. That's the only thing I've ever been arrested for.
Yeah, I've never really gotten close.
They took away my car and they lost it. For
What?
6 months, I was looking for. Yeah. So
I
they
didn't
took
know
away
this.
my car. Yeah. And then I had to go to. So my mom came and took me. Right. And can I tell you the story? Should I tell you the story?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So they took me to the police station because I was in a car with another girl. And
this is in Iran, if anyone doesn't
this is
can't
in Iran.
tell.
So when they took me to the station, I called my mom on the way. She was coming to pick me up, and the whoever was in charge in that station, the guy started lecturing me about why are you doing this? This is not proper. You should be a good Muslim. This is not Islamic. This is haram. This is a sin. Fucking bullshit, stuff like that. And I was a rebellious teenager at that point, and he was going on and on and on. And then at some point, I had fucking enough, and I told him, well, you know what? All of the stuff that you're saying doesn't apply to me. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, because I'm not a Muslim. So the things that you're saying I should do does not apply to me because I'm not a Muslim. And he was like, what do you mean? Aren't you born into a Muslim family? I'm like, yeah. And like, so how are you not a Muslim? I was like, I left Islam. And he was like, you left Islam? And I'm like, yeah, I left Islam. And the guy was silent for a few seconds. And then he was like, listen to me, you motherfucker. Like something Iranian swear. He was like, I could destroy your fucking life right now with my pen. You have no idea what you're telling me. Don't you ever say that to anyone ever again. This or else you're gonna lose your fucking life. So he went from, to be fair to him, the guy was not that bad because he went from lecturing me to all of a sudden being worried about my fucking safety.
He protected you from yourself, honestly.
Yeah. And then when my mom came, by the way, guys, this was right now in Iran, many people are saying they're not Muslim. This is the norm now in Iran. Back when I said this is more than 20 years ago. This was not normal to say. This was not normal to say. Okay, this is like before what we're saying, the wave of mass exodus out of Islam. I was an ex-Muslim before it was cool in Islam in Iran. Okay, now everybody and their dog is an ex-Muslim in Iran. Okay, now people's grandmas and grandparents are ex-Muslims in Iran. Okay, I was I was a trendsetter. Anyways, when my mom came, the guy took my mom into a room and he said, "Your son told me something that I will not repeat, and you just tell him not to say that ever again. Your son is going to get himself killed." Right? So he told my mom that, and then when we got into a car, my mom said, like, "What did you tell him?" And I was like, "Just drive. I didn't want to talk about it." But they didn't. So they took my car. I went home with my mom's car. They said like, you have to come and file these papers to get your car back. And when I went back to the another police station to get my filing and everything, my file had the label of sexual harassment written on top of it. What the fuck is that? Like, what are you talking about? I was like when I was going from room to room, like trying to cover the, like, hide the cover of my file because it was written in bold on top of it, right? Like, what the fuck? I was
Mom,
like,
don't look. It's not true.
No, it wasn't mom anymore. I was doing it myself. Like, it was, this is after, right? And then I was hiding at the time. But then when they called me, they called my name and the file, like, for what? Out loud to everybody there. It was fucking insane. They were trying to humiliate me. I don't know what the fuck the kind of system is that, right? Anyways, they told me to go pick up my car. Eventually, when I filed everything and everything, they told me to go pick up my car from a parking. And they were like, where is it? And like, we don't know. So they didn't write which parking my car is in. So I had to go to many different parking lots, from top to bottom, looking at every fucking car.
Wow.
I think I looked into 6 different parking lots to eventually find my car. And then when I got in, because they gave me the key, and then eventually when I got in, it was obvious that they were using it. They had like party stuff. They had like, they played my music, the music that I had in the car. It was in a different place. They had food everywhere. I don't know who was using my car in this time, like in this couple of months, but they were using it for partying or something. It was fucking insane. I was so angry, and I was like, I had nobody to complain to. It was a time of my life that, yeah. Anyways, that was my memory of being arrested once. At least I didn't go to jail, so there's that.
Well, yeah, and at least you weren't hanged. There's that.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy might have saved my life because I was in such a rebellious, that guy scared me, right? By saying stuff like that. I might have, like, I was Yeah. But I was in such rebellious mood that I might have been killed because of going around and telling everybody that I left Islam.
I love this. Armin Navabi, sexual harassment. You may pick up your car now.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Sexual harassment, something Gen Z. Yeah, I remember that. It was so embarrassing.
Well, I expect nothing less than utter mismanagement from any government body of the Islamic Republic. Yeah. But I'm glad you didn't get hanged. I think everyone in our community that lives in an Islamic country is probably like, God damn, this you had no chill.
I mean, I was like pretty pissed because when I became an ex-Muslim, I was like, what the fuck? Everyone is lying to all of us. So I was like, and you're in your teenage phase and you think like, I need to wake up society. This is insane. Everybody's being lied. Society, everybody's being lied to.
You sheeple.
Wake up, sheeple. Islam is a lie.
Society. I mean, that makes sense, especially considering that, like, you didn't even know that atheists were a thing that exist when you apostatized. So, oh my god, we live in a society. Okay, wait. Let's get back to the super chats.
Yeah. Okay.
Sarah's saying that we should have an opening song like AP. I'm thinking of that. Or at least a little closing thing.
Well, guys, tell Susie because Susie approves I used to be in control of what Atheist Republic gets to spend money on, but now because Susie is the CEO, I have to. Guys, this is the level of humiliation I have to deal with. I will tell you behind the scenes. Okay, I have to go to Susie and beg for money every time I see a software that we want. I mean, to be fair, Susie has saved us financially because I used to spend too much money. And Susie is like very financially aware of like, yeah, we cannot afford that. And you're like, come on, it's only $20 a month. And Susie is like, no, because it keeps like gathering together and we cannot afford it. So I want a Sumo AI that makes music with AI. I want that subscription, and I have been asking Susie to let us have that for a couple of months now, and she's like says like we shall see. So yeah, guys, this is what I have to deal with. I have to go and beg Susie to spend Atheist Republic money on stuff, and she will decide whether or not we can do it or not.
I mean, hey, people make the decision to, support us financially. And to be fair, we are extremely efficient with, the support that we get. But yeah, that has to be managed. Choices are made. Okay. I have to.
Yeah. To be honest, the way Susanna manages Atheist Republic, I sometimes think like she must have been the CEO of 3 other companies before she did this. I don't know how she has the management skill, which is amazing.
Meanwhile, I just started as a little 24-year-old, like learning on the job, teaching myself everything.
Yeah. Amazing.
Anyways, okay, so we got a super chat from Graham talking about the prison situation, saying this is why they need real men to guard the prisons, not weak, effeminate soy boys being scared of being called racist. Okay, in defense, you need to be backed up by a system and institution that will support you in these scenarios, right? If the entire institution and system is not going to back you up and support you and have your back when you're trying to address these behaviors, it doesn't matter how brave an individual man is if the culture of the elites that are setting the tone for these systems give credence to this stuff. I mean, this is how things like the grooming gang situation is even allowed to occur.
And also, Susie, you're so on point. By the way, John is loving your answer. She's like, he's going crazy with your answer. He's loving it. But to be, to add to Susanna's point, if you go with like, real men kind of talk, while you don't have institutional support behind you, this is a system-wide solution rather than individual type like behavior solution. Be a real man. Like if you want to be a real man as you define it, without having institutional support behind you, that's the best way to get killed. Okay, sometimes people, I'm in favor of positive masculinity. Okay, so we're not anti-masculinity, but 100%. The negative type of masculinity is the type of masculinity that for the sake of bravery you do stupid shit that gets you killed. Okay, that's not the type of masculinity that we want. Okay, so yeah, do not go stand up against a fucking gang without actually having the system being fixed in a way that it could be supportive of you.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that has made me understand the like populist influence a lot more than I used to. But in general, I'm not a populist by any stretch of the imagination. Gasian American gave a super chat saying the People's Republic of China would never. Would it be ethical to give them a social credit score with parole times and additional goodies based on it? I mean, yeah. I mean, every prison I don't know about however you want to call it. Every prison has a system of privileges and consequences. This is a basic thing. You get a reduced time or an opportunity to go up for parole early based on good behavior.
Social credit scores make sense in prisons. The problem with PRC is that they wanted to use it outside of prisons, basically turning the entire public society into a prison. But yeah, social credit score does make sense inside a prison, but please don't bring it out. Don't bring it into the streets like China. Yeah. China. Oh, we have to bring this back now that Trump is in power. It's not China anymore. It's China.
Rafa, excuse me, saying, "Hey guys, are you guys going to cover the new study showing civilian deaths have been exaggerated to demonize Israel?"
Somebody send that to me.
I can send that to you
know,
easily. I got that bookmark, baby.
yes. Shh. Yeah. Why didn't you send? Why wouldn't you send me this?
Okay,
Every
because
time you see
sometimes I
something like this,
assume that you also have eyes everywhere, the way that I have eyes everywhere, and I'm wrong. I make an
you're wrong.
assumption.
Don't make an assumption. Send me that stuff, guys. Should I make a stream on this? This is pretty earth-shattering, and not enough people are talking about it.
Yeah, it was done by the Henry Jackson Society.
If I make this stream, you better come watch it, because sometimes you tell me to make a stream and then I make it and then you don't come watch it. So tell me that there's a major demand for this in the comment section, so I know if I should make it or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But basically what I'm saying is, like, it as a source, it was conducted by the Henry Jackson Society, and they are very good at the kind of reporting that they do in terms of their methodology and stuff. Unicorn is saying, "I'm late, but make sure to hit the like button." Yes, everyone, please remember to like this stream. Help us pray to the YouTube gods. John is celebrating his membership for 7 months. Thank you for supporting the channel for 7 months, John. Saying, "Has there been grassroots pushback to UK Islamists?" I don't know if you're referring, like, specifically within these prisons or just in general, but in general, 100%. I mean, that's what Tommy Robinson does, and he's been active for, like, a very long time. You could even go back to the English Defense League, which has, a controversial history.
We want Tommy.
But technically that
so
is
controversial that yes. No, but Tommy himself says that those people are just anti everything that is not white. So Tommy doesn't like them.
Yeah, no, but I've watched interviews with him talking about how it wasn't that way, and it only got that way after he was taken to prison, and then it got infiltrated by Yahtzees.
Yahtzees, and he left them for that reason.
Yeah,
it's so amazing that people want to say that Tommy Robinson is racist, but he left them because they became racist. And I remember I saw an interview with Tommy when he was so young, and he was like, "What's the difference between you and them?" And he looked at the interviewer so baffled about the question, like, "Well, these motherfuckers," like he said, "these people just are anti everything that is not white. Like, can you not tell the difference? I am here because I'm concerned about Islam rising in the UK. I'm not a fucking racist. I left those people because they were racist." Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so Gage gave another super chat scene. "I think this law is only being discussed." Oh, okay. So he's talking about the cousin marriage thing. "I think this law is only being discussed after the death of the queen because she married her first cousin. The dragons to incest ratio is off." This is a Game of Thrones reference, but I don't fully get it.
Right.
I don't know why it's being discussed now. I actually need to look into that. So Zivatad gave 45 shekels. Thank you. Saying, "Here, I know this isn't much, but I hope it will help. Thank you for being on the side of truth and justice." Well, thank you so much, Ziv. No, seriously, everything helps, even if it's just
guys,
liking the stream, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing.
Let me tell you about the super chats. First of all, don't give us super chats if you're financially not secure enough. But if you are financially secure enough, small super chats add up, right? So just don't be like, "Oh, this specific one super chat is very small." You have to understand that in a stream, if we consistently get a small super chats in one stream, that adds up to so much. So yeah, one individual super chat is not that big, might not seem like it's a big deal, but if you notice a lot of small super chats, that could make or break a channel. Like, that will basically be the difference between us being in the red and not being in the right.
Mhm.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.